All right, Assalamu alaikum, everybody. My name is Aisha Horiozaki. I'm one of the board members with Muslim Women's Alliance Chicago, and we're absolutely thrilled to be able to welcome you to this afternoon's session. You have an incredible lineup. I will give you a couple quick sort of general pieces of information. I'll introduce each of our speakers. They'll each have a period of time to be able to present, and then we'll have open question and answers. You'll notice around the room that we have note cards. We'll go ahead and ask you to jot your questions down so that we can collect them and compile them to make it as efficient as possible. Also, please note that each of our speakers will be selling their book for purchase and to be signed after the session. So once our session has wrapped up with question and answers, we'll ask you to join us in the back of the room and or outside for each of our speakers, inshallah. Okay, so let me just tell you a little bit about Muslim Women's Alliance of Chicago. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization based in the Chicago area, and we regularly look for the gaps where Muslim women can be empowered, can ensure that we are meeting the needs of women in our community. So alhamdulillah, we are providing the tools and resources necessary to empower Muslim women around a variety of topics. So you'll hear today, of course, we're talking about a very important topic related to financial well-being and success, but we cover a number of other areas. Our 4 pillars include leadership development, community service, youth mentoring, and empowering the community for social justice. A couple just quick things, as I mentioned, make sure you're taking the notes for questions and we'll collect those. You'll see a number of volunteers walking around. We have another session after this one, so this session will end at 3 and then we'll have another session. You're welcome to take a break and then return into the room when you're able to, and then we'll be looking to have everybody join us for the book signing as well. So let me go ahead and tell you a little bit about our incredible presenters today. So we will start with Dr. Rabab. Dr. Rabab Razak is a University of Houston graduate who began her career as an architect. Over the past 31 years, however, she has devoted her life to the study and teaching of Islamic studies. She holds Islamic studies degrees from Islamic American University, a master's in Islamic studies from American Open University, and earned her PhD in Islamic law from American University for Human Sciences. She has a deep-rooted interest in women's rights and studies under Islamic law, comparative fiqh, general Islamic law, and Islamic history. The author is also commonly known through her married name, Rabab Goma. She has served as a member of various institutions. At Northwest Suburban College, she has taught Arabic, Quranic Arabic, and religion in architecture. She is also affiliated with the Arab Academy for Sharia Sciences in Beirut, Lebanon, where she specializes in comparative fiqh. She has taught principles of the Islamic faith at American Open University and a number of other places. So that's a very abbreviated introduction for Dr. Rabab, and then I will go ahead and quickly introduce Farah Ali as well. Farah Ali is a Wall Street Journal best-selling author, real estate investor, and certified life and success coach. Farah was forced to start all over again and worked in the insurance industry after overcoming a difficult divorce, and worked in the insurance industry in the corporate world. After beginning her career in 2001, she continued to dedicate all her time to her career and her 2 children. In order to make ends meet, she started to invest in single-family residential homes. After experiencing massive success in real estate, she wrote the bestseller, Diaries of a Female Real Estate Investor, to inspire others to invest in real estate. Today, Farah has been able to retire from her corporate career after accumulating enough passive income from real estate investments. So inshallah, we are in for a fabulous conversation. I will start with Dr. Rabab, and then we'll go ahead and transition over to Farah shortly. So thank you.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen, wa salatu wa salam ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. My talk today is covering 3 points. The first is what the Islamic perspective is on women's financial rights. Second, what a woman needs to do to secure these rights. And third, challenges she may face to manage her money and how to overcome them. Much of the information I will share with you today is found in my book, The Wealth of Women, Understanding Islamic Financial Laws. The book is based on my PhD dissertation and is available for purchase after the session, inshallah. To start, in Islam, every person is born a legal being with certain rights and obligations. With this, people have duties towards one another, including protecting and honoring each other's wealth. Both males and females are able to possess their own wealth, and this possession gives them the freedom to do as one sees fit with one's wealth, whether to buy or sell, or invest or share or rent, or simply spend without the permission or approval of anyone. There's a lot of proof of women being able to possess their own wealth. For example, the Prophet once said to a group of women, "Oh, women, give charity from the jewelry that you possess." Upon hearing this, the women momentarily removed their worn jewelry and gave it a sadaqah without asking or getting anyone's permission to do so. Next, I'd like to point out that while women had to fight for certain financial rights over the last few centuries, including the ability to control and own their own property after marrying, the Sharia, or the divine law derived from the Quran and the prophetic tradition, established women's rights from as early as the 7th century. In fact, one can argue that the financial sources granted to women under Islamic law outweigh those sources available to men. Specific Quranic verses, particularly in Surah An-Nisa and Surah At-Talaq, they address sources, financial sources for women that are single, married, divorced, and widowed. The list of income sources for women is long, but due to the shortness of time, I'm going to name just a few that are particularly important and relevant to most of us today. Number one, as a young girl or woman, she can inherit money. A situation happened during the life of the Prophet ﷺ where a man died and he left a wife and 3 daughters. Immediately, his male cousins took over the estate of the deceased. Once the word got to the Messenger ﷺ, he advised the widow to remain patient, and soon after, Allah Azza wa Jal revealed verse number 7 of Surah An-Nisa, "For men is a share of what the parents and close relatives leave, and for women is a share of what the parents and close relatives leave, be it little or much, an obligatory share." Once the verse was revealed, the widow and her daughters were given their rights. Number two, as a woman that earns money, her earnings belong only to her. Allah Azza wa Jal said in Surah An-Nisa, "For men is a share of what they have earned, and for women is a share of what they have earned." This is an important point because in Islam, a woman is entitled to keep all the money that she personally earns. Additionally, she is not responsible to financially provide for her family or children. One example of her earnings includes rent or sale of her property. A verse that demonstrates her ability to rent her property is in Surah An-Nisa, Al-Baqarah, verse 233, which describes a woman who, women that are employed to nurse a newborn, suggesting that she essentially rents out her milk supply for the use of a baby who is not hers. The verse says, "And if you wish to have your children nursed by a substitute, there is no blame on you as long as you give payment according to what is acceptable." As for selling her property, a man during the life of the Prophet ﷺ was on his deathbed, and he remembered he owed his wife her mahr. He said to those that are present, I bear you as witness that I give her my share from the booties of the battle of Khaybar. So she took it and she sold it for 100,000. As for buying, we have the example of Aisha radiallahu anha, the Prophet's wife, who purchased an enslaved woman for the purpose of giving her her freedom without anyone's consent. Number 3, when she's about to marry, a woman has a right to mahr or sadaq. This is a marital gift given by the husband as a token of honor towards his new bride and to show his commitment of this union. This is evident from several verses of the Quran, including verse 4 of Surah An-Nisa, where Allah Azza wa Jal said, and give the women upon marriage their bridal gifts graciously. It is important to add that the gift of mahr is absolutely required in any marriage, whether it was mentioned in the marriage contract or not. This is evident from verse 236 of Surah Al-Baqarah. In cases in which there's no mahr or marital gift was specified, the Messenger ﷺ ruled that a wife is to receive a gift like another woman in her family received upon matrimony. Number 4 is nafaqah, or marital maintenance, which includes all living expenses during a marriage. The Quran is clear that when a man marries a woman, he is to take the responsibility as provider. Allah Azza wa Jal said in Surah At-Talaq, verse number 7, let a man of wealth spend according to his means, and he with limited resources provide according to whatever Allah has given him. Also, the Prophet ﷺ said, they, that is your wives, have a right over you to provide for them and clothe them in a reasonable manner. Of course, included in living expenses is her residence, which is spoken of in Surah 65, verse number 6. Lodge them where you dwell according to your wealth. All scholars and schools of thought agree that the husband's obligation to provide for his wife takes priority over any duties towards any other family members. The Hanbali school scholars reason this is because it is a contractual duty in a marriage rather than a duty based on compassion or need. A man once said to the Prophet ﷺ, Ya Rasulullah, I have a dinar. The messenger said, spend it on yourself. He said, I have another. The messenger said, spend it on your wife. He said, I have another. The messenger said, spend it on your children. The man said, I have one more. The messenger said, spend it on your servant. When income sources like mahr or nafaqah are not properly provided to the wife, it is considered a debt to be paid by the husband the moment he becomes able. If never paid, the owed mahr and nafaqah payments should be taken from him upon divorce or from his estate upon his death, in addition to her inheritance right. Number 5, there are several income sources upon divorce. I will mention just a few. Number 1, living expenses. According to most schools of thought, a woman has a right to certain living expenses during her post-divorce waiting period. In cases involving children, 2 schools of thought ruled that a woman unable to afford a home has the right for permanent residence for herself and her children. Number 2, mut'ah, which stands for that which embetters one's life, is a post-divorce payment which might be compared to alimony. This source of income is evident in the Quran, Surah Al-Baqarah, verses 236 and 241, and Imam Ibn Taymiyyah, rahimahullah, said mut'ah or post-divorce payment is due for every divorcee. Number 3, al-kad was-sa'aya. This is a source of income that is based on the Maliki school of thought. And it refers to a payment a husband makes to his ex-wife for the fruits and hard work and contributions to the family's accumulated wealth as a work partner and a homemaker. This form of income source is rooted in the Quranic verses and principles of justice. It has been adopted by several Muslim countries today, including Egypt and Morocco. The source of income stems from a decision Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu made on behalf of a woman by the name of Habiba bint Zurayq. He ruled that she has the right to kad and sa'aya due to her effort in building the business with her husband, and she received half the estate and her share of inheritance. Number 4 is payment to a mother for the children's expenses, known as child support. And number 5, separately, a payment to a mother for providing child care for her children. Now, my next point is, what measures must every woman take to secure herself financially? I'd like to answer this by sharing the advice of 21 amazing, courageous women that I interviewed in my book about the financial experiences in their marriage. Their full stories can be found in my book in chapters 4 and 5, and they are extremely powerful. Their advice is made up of 4 prescriptions. Number 1, to do everything in your power to attain a college degree. Number 2, to educate yourself on your specific financial rights in Islam and work on ways to be given these rights. Number 3, choose for a partner someone that is compatible, not only in terms of faith or culture and personality, but economic and social status, because this has a lot to do with how financially comfortable you will be in that marriage. Number 4, to reach an agreement with your husband prior to the marriage regarding your personal earnings. Never take for granted what Islam has given you and assume that it's just going to be given to you automatically, but prepare yourself by doing prenuptials agreements before the marriage and condition that your personal earnings are yours. The last point is challenges women face when it comes to managing their money. They include a woman that is shamed or obligated to share her wealth in household expenses or doesn't receive financial support from her husband. How to overcome this? Premarital education by scholars whom you both trust. If you are pressured or shamed to spend, you can keep a record of your daily or monthly spending and inform someone that you trust of this, since this is a debt that's owed to you and can be received upon death or upon divorce. If not received in this world, inshallah, it will be received multiplied in the hereafter. Number 2, she faces difficulties when she wants to open a personal account, especially if the couple had a joint account from the start of the marriage. Some men find this offensive. How to avoid this problem? From the beginning of the marriage, have your own private account. Opening one to put your mahr or personally saved money are ideal reasons to do so. Number 3, many women find themselves forced to spend from their personal money on earnings on things like house help or personal needs, especially if they work and earn, because their husbands feel that this is a luxury and they say, if you want house help, then pay for it. How to overcome this? Education about what is included as part of nafaqah. The classical scholars considered hiring domestic help a part of nafaqah with some conditions. In fact, according to all 4 schools of thought, household chores are not a wife's duty to her spouse. Number 4, a woman doesn't have privacy in her home because her husband's family resides with her. How to deal with this? Well, we need to educate the community about how providing a private residence is part of the obligatory nafaqah of a wife upon marriage. Number 5, she faces difficulty receiving her monetary divorce rights. How to deal with this? Reach out to a Sharia scholar with knowledge about your rights. And keep in mind that your everyday masjid imam is not necessarily a Sharia scholar. Realize when it comes to divorce, things can get ugly. And the only thing that can make it go smooth is taqwa. So choose for a husband a man who is God-fearing, because this is a man that will be good to you during not only the good times, but also during the bad. Thank you very much, and jazakumullahu khair. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Okay, assalamu alaikum everyone. I'm so happy to see so many women here who are investing in themselves and in their future. And you being here today means a lot, because that means that you are caring for yourselves, your family, and your legacy, whatever you're meant to leave behind. So thank you all. Give yourself a pat on the back for being here. So I wanted to start off with a little bit about myself, so just so you have a little bit of context to where I'm coming from. I was born here in the US, in Chicago, to a middle-class family. My parents immigrated from India back in the 70s. And, my dad came here with really nothing. He had a great education, and he was offered a job here from America as an engineer. So I had 3 sisters. Again, middle-class family. We weren't like poor, but we weren't like really well off either. So we had to like work during our college days just to kind of make ends meet. Fast forward to a lot of people in our culture where you're, in your 20s, early 20s, guess what happens? It's time to get married. And so that was told to me, like when I was 21, hey, we're gonna make a trip to India. It's just gonna be for shopping, that's all it's gonna be for. I might have known in the background, back of my head, that might have been a plan to like find me a guy, but that's exactly what kind of happened. So long story short, I got married in my early 20s, had my first child right away, not right away like that, like a year out, and then had my second child 2 years later. So here I am, 25 years old, and I'm not working at this, well, actually I take that back. I had my first child. And what happened was, that year, the stock market went completely down. All those tech stocks, I don't know if any of you guys remember. So my husband at the time had invested a lot of money that he used on credit cards to invest. So we had a lot of debt. So with my 6-month-old child, I had to start working, because we were always taught that you're supposed to be there for your spouse. Be there for support in any which way. So I went to work. And I wish I knew you, during that time, so I knew what my rights were. But what I did was anything that I earned at work, I completely put towards his debt. And which left me fast forward to, 8 years later, when it was becoming really difficult in our marriage. And everybody goes through their own things. And, he ended up not working for 4 years, where I was kind of, managing the entire house. But what I didn't realize was I didn't save anything for myself. So long story short, I ended up leaving, took my 2 kids and walked into an empty house with no furniture, nothing. I had a good job, paying like $80K a year, so that was good enough to meet like the day-to-day expenses, but it wasn't enough to take care of any other expenses that I needed to, like vacations with the kids or extracurricular activities. I was not getting child support because he didn't have a job. So I had a lot on my shoulders, and honestly, I don't know how I did it, thinking back to it then now, but I do remember one thing, that I always had Allah in my heart, and I always felt like if I just keep Allah in my heart, that He'll always guide the way. So that's kind of what I held on to. So now, fast forward to that, I didn't finish my education, so I was like, how do I make more money? So I ended up going back and getting a college degree. And then right after, I got an MBA. So I had 2 kids, working full-time, MBA, kind of like on my own. And so I was so excited, because I was like, I got my MBA, I'm gonna get this huge raise, and that didn't happen. The huge raise was a 15% raise, which ended up in like $300 extra a month, which is not really what I was looking for. So I was like, okay, how do people get rich? Because why is it that I hear about all these people have all these nice cars and houses, whatever, like what am I doing wrong? So I started researching a lot on the web, and most of the people that became successful and wealthy did so through real estate. So I ended up going to a local real estate group. I got educated in real estate investing, and I did my first property. At that time, that was 2014. So I kind of want to walk through a little bit of what that looked like, just so you guys have like a little bit of information. So if you want to just, so there's that house. It was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. For those of you who are local to Chicago, it's in a small little suburb called Lyons. And I bought this property, so I didn't have the money to buy it, but I belonged to a group that had lenders. And what they do is they lend you the whole purchase price and money to fix it up. So I bought it for $76,000, and I put about $20,000 fixing it up, you know, like new flooring, paint, and all that. And when I got it appraised for $145,000 at the time. So, because it appraised for so much, I was able to get a loan that was able to pay the lender back everything that they borrowed, but as also I had a little bit of extra money that I could get from that investment just because it appraised for a lot more. And then I got tenants in there, and the tenants basically pay for the monthly payment that I have a mortgage payment on it, so and then I have extra $500 every month that comes in that's like net cash flow, meaning it's money that you're making while you're sleeping. So I was like, oh wow, this actually works. Just to fast forward, the same property today is worth like $225,000. So just want to let you guys know with this one example what the power of real estate can do. Now, think about this, like you take this one property and you duplicate the system over and over and over and over and over again. And that's kind of what I did for the next 10 years. I built my portfolio up to owning about 60 single-family homes. And if you take whatever that number is, my math is not in my head, but if you take 60 properties times $500 net cash flow coming in every single month without having, you know, to do much of anything, that you can retire at that point from my corporate. So in 2021, I ended up retiring from corporate America, which was an amazing feeling. Because now I got to own my own time. And when you get to own your own time, guess what happens? You get to get creative, right? And with creativity, I ended up writing a book. I ended up becoming a life coach. I ended up going out and speaking and sharing this information with the people like you guys. But why real estate is really important is it's always going to increase your net worth. Like over time, real estate always appreciates. So always keep that in mind. It gives you the consistent passive income that you need. You can, the consistent passive income from the tenants, right, the rent that you're getting. It's a tangible asset. So nowadays, there's so many assets out there that are, you know, not tangible, right? There's like Bitcoin and there's all this sort of stuff that's going on. But at least a house you can touch, you can feel, you can walk in, you can do something with. If you're going through a hard time and you need to sell the property for whatever reason, at least you could sell it and get that lump sum of cash. We talked about the appreciating over time. There's great tax benefits to owning property. You get tax breaks on the taxes that you pay on the property. Even though the property is appreciating over time, when you do taxes, they take it as a depreciation. And they spread it out over 37 years. So, you know, if you're making $100,000 a year and you use your real estate as a way to depreciate your income, you're not paying as much taxes. And then also, if you have any interest payments or anything like that, your mortgage payments, that's also tax deductible as well. You get a tax break on those. And last but not least, you're leaving a legacy. So this is for you, right? This is for you, and then this is for future generations. So like your kids can inherit it. And now your kids will have something that they have one leg up on. The reason why a lot of people in America have been successful, we call old money. Old money is because these kids have a leg up You know, most of us are here as immigrants, first generation, and all that. So this is our time to be able to leave a legacy for generations to come, right? And that's how we can make change. And it's also investing in your ummah as well. Like, as we all know, if we are people who have morals and values, we know that our money that we make is going to be spent in the right causes, not towards, you know, killing people across the world. So I just want to kind of quickly, if you want, go to the next slide, talk about some challenges that we women face and that I personally faced. One is that we completely undervalue ourselves. You know, when I was giving my entire income away to help my husband at the time, to help with the debt that he caused, I should have kept something for myself. Like, this doesn't have to be like this whole sacrificial, you know, like I gotta do everything right, like that. So you have to make sure that you value who you are, even in the workspace. When I was in corporate, and I think a lot of women already know this, that men usually get paid more than women do, right? So we need to always make sure that we believe in ourselves, because if we don't believe in our value, nobody external is gonna believe in your value. And that's for your family, that's for work, that's anywhere where you go. We tend to have lower confidence levels. I think nowadays that's changing somewhat, but I still see it. And we need to make sure that we're constantly developing confidence in ourselves. And that could be accomplished through education. Like, if you know what you're talking about, then people will respect you. And I'll give you an example. Like, I work with a lot of contractors and GCs, plumbers, tradesmen, and when they first see me, they're like giving me these horrible, like these high prices because they think I'm a woman and I don't know what I'm talking about, right? And then at that point where now I'm having this conversation and I'm talking about, you know, I know this costs this costs this. So when they hear the lingo, they hear the language, then they kind of step back and they know that they can't take advantage of women. So make sure that you get educated, you get the experience you need in your field. We talked about, I talked a little bit about sacrifice. We tend to think that we have to sacrifice all of our time to others. Make sure that you're investing some in yourself, whether it's investing in figuring out what your triggers are, you know, what your emotions are. When do you feel mad? When do you feel sad? When do you feel angry? All of that. And sit down with yourselves and say, okay, why did this get triggered? And, you know, so a lot of us have traumas from our childhood, whether it's, you know, whatever level that it may be at. So it's really important for us to understand ourselves, because if you do understand yourself, then you're able to self-soothe and not look externally for somebody to soothe you, for validation. Lack of resources and support. So to do real estate, you don't need a lot of money. You just need to have resources and a team behind you. And you know, we can get into that more later. I'm going to have a free workshop here in Chicago if anybody's interested. And you don't need to be married or have spousal support to do any of this. I did this completely as a single mom, and you could do it part-time while you're working. So the book that I wrote called Diaries of a Female Real Estate Investor, I actually put in there tips on how I did it while working full-time, while not having a lot of funds. You know, I didn't have savings at all when I did all of this. So if you guys are interested, you know, you could buy a book at the back of the room when this is over. And then the one thing that I always hear is we don't have enough time. We should make time for what's important to us. So, like, even my mom, when I started investing in real estate, she's like, oh, you already have a good job. Like, why are you taking on this additional stress? Just get married, right? Just get married and your husband will support you. Well, there's no guarantee of who you're gonna get as a spouse. And even if you think that this person is great, year, 2 years, 5 years down the line, they may be great, they may not be. So it's a bet that we're placing in life. And I don't like bets. Like, so in order for me not to place a bet in my life, I'm gonna invest in myself first. And when you do invest in yourself first, nice surprise is that it does affect everybody around you. And today my kids are, you know, maybe a step ahead and have that knowledge because I was able to bring that to the table to them. And then just some tips if you wanna just, move this slide. So to have a wealthy, to have wealth in your life, the first thing you need to start with is your mindset. That is extremely important because what you tell yourself in your head day in and day out, you're programming your brain to do it. So if you're saying, I don't have enough, then you're not gonna have enough. So think of your brain as a computer processor. That's exactly what happens. So you have to start thinking positive. You need to empower yourself. You need to empower each other as women. But don't forget to empower your men, because that is what we all forget. Today, in this day and age, there's social media, there's all this out there. Imagine where you're a man, your husband, your brother, whoever it is, right? They're looking elsewhere for support because they feel like they cannot connect with their wife, because they can't have an educational conversation about investments. They can't have, somebody to, run an idea past, right? They want that. They won't tell you that, but they're going to their male friends for that. So imagine if you got into whatever area you wanted to get into, whether it's investments or that, and you actually got educated and were able to be that support for that spouse. So just keep that in mind, that don't leave your men behind, because men and women need to work together for us to evolve, obviously in the right way, but this is when you're dealing with business, you're going to deal with men, and you need to learn how to work with them. And then make sure you're watching who you're hanging out with, because the friends that are around you is who you're going to become. So people who are gossiping, backbiting, all of that, just start paying attention to who's doing what and slowly pull yourself away and be among people who are productive, or a life that you want to see or become, or maybe a mentor or whatever that case is. So just start hanging around the right people. And make sure that you have clarity in your mind. Make sure you have clear goals. Not like 1 minute you want to do something, then the next minute you change your mind, because that's like emotional, right? You need to focus on something, have a 6-month, a 12-month, and a 3-year goal. That's what I recommend. And just write it down on paper and just revisit it every quarter to make sure that you're taking actionable items towards those goals. And last but not least, be grateful for whatever you already have. Like, wake up every day in gratitude. If you wake up in gratitude every day, you're already training your brain to have an abundance mindset, because you're grateful and you're just going to attract more of it. If you want to go on to the next. So I just kind of wanted to share with you like what real estate has done for me. So if you guys can see that red line is active income, meaning I have to work for money, meaning I have to spend my time to make money. So working in corporate, I probably would have gotten a 5 to 10% increases in pay, right? So I don't know if you could see, but that line over there shows north of 100,000, maybe up to 150 is what I would have been making right now annually if I stayed at my corporate job. But because I got into real estate, you guys can see that blue line, and that line is what I make passively, meaning I don't have to trade my time in for money. And this is possible for all of you in this room. And it took me about, I would say about 5 to 7 years. I did it alone, but if you have support from home, whether it's your parents, your husband, whoever it is, you can go a lot faster. So just some real quick next steps. For those of you guys who are interested in getting into real estate investing, on January 14th, I have a free real estate workshop. It's going to be in Downers Grove, for those of you who are local. If you guys are not local, I'm going to see if I could if there's enough interest, I might do a virtual one. So in the back of the room, that's my son back there, by the way, but in the back of the room, there is a flyer with information on the workshop. It's free. I'm not charging anything for this particular workshop, so we're going to go more depth into real estate and some of the steps on how to invest. And then I'm also a life and success coach certified, so if anybody wants to work on investing one-on-one or anything else, mindset, whatever it is, you're welcome to reach out to me. There's flyers back there. And then some tips for other next steps is there's some other wealth books. I don't know if some of you guys have heard of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That's a really good book to get you in the right mindset. Think and Grow Rich is really good as well. And then on YouTube, these are all free, right? It's Jim Rohn. He's a great guy to listen to just get you into the right mindset. Bob Proctor and Anthony Robbins, they're all good, really good resources. And then also, next slide. Okay, yeah, for more information, you guys can order or the books are back in the room, or you can get it on Amazon, whichever you prefer. Again, it talks more about my journey, how I did it as a single mom, and it actually has 5 case studies of the real estate transactions in there. So what I bought it for, what the rehab cost to renovate it, what it appraised for, what it rented for, and all of that information's in there. So it's definitely something that I think that you could at least get to learn, and then hopefully it gets in there, and then you guys can start taking action. And then I have my social media stuff up there. You guys can follow me on social media. I do different tours. Like I have like 10 or 12 Airbnbs, so I'll do like an open house where people can come and kind of see like how it was set up, what I spent on it, just educational open houses and things like that. So, but thank you so much, guys, and I hope I didn't go too over, but thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum. Okay, so we have a lot of questions and not a lot of time. So I have some general themes. I'll rattle off. Probably we'll get to a couple questions, and then inshallah each of you can sort of address those. Some of the themes, the number one theme, of course, is figuring out from a halal perspective how to invest. So thinking about interest. So the one big question is, is it Islamically legal or permissible to purchase multiple homes with mortgages in kind of the U.S. financial system? That's kind of the big one there, if you want to start with it. Yeah, either one of you, and then we have a couple of other sort of thematic questions.
Yeah. All right, so I'll take that one on. So me personally, I have taken traditional loans from banks, but I've been looking for solutions for halal options for the past 7-8 years. And I think I finally come across one. So there's companies like UIF, and I don't know about guidance, but I know UIF, they do the refinances for investment properties on the back end. For short-term loans, we are working with, I know somebody in New Jersey who is doing halal financing on the front end, like the initial where you borrow the money for the rehab and the purchase. And then there's a solution for the back end as well. So we are working with scholars, and we're currently putting that whole program together. So I think that we should be live with that in the next month or so. So that information will come out as that is being released. But it's definitely possible. There's ways to do it. Instead of interest, there's ways to like partner up and do it in a halal way, which is backed up by scholars.
Thank you. Anything you'd like to add, Dr. Rabah?
I think she's the professional in this, so I
Okay. There is a question for you very specifically, which is, are there resources for financially stable women to avoid financial abuse from spouse or family or community members?
Resources, I came across what is called DIJA. This is a worldwide organization that does empower women financially. So you might, check into that.
Spell it.
Like Khadija, that was the reason they called it DIJA. Yeah.
So D-I-J-A?
D-I-J-A.
Okay. And then one question.
I would like to add one thing, though, is that I'd hoped more men to be here today, but there's no men at all. There are very, very few, mashallah. Thank you for coming, whoever came. But I just wanted, to say that the men do need to increase involving their wives in financial, decisions in the household, because your wives, if something was to happen to you, or you fall ill, or, God forbid, you die, your wife and your children are going to be pretty lost because you have not involved them in anything financially all their life, and especially, women that are completely dependent and are not earning, and they're not just out in the outside world. So I just really, men really need to get their wives involved in finances.
Can I just add one thing?
Yeah, go ahead. We're wrapping up, but go right ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I've been around a lot of couples and a lot of people who've learned, over the past 10 years, have learned real estate investing. I've been part of a program that teaches. And anytime that I've seen couples doing it together, their marriage has gotten so much better. They have less problems. They're working as a team. So I just wanted, for you ladies out there, I just wanted to say that I've been seeing a lot of that when couples work together and on real estate investments, generally they're getting closer to their spouse.
Thank you very much to each of our speakers, with so much information. So I saw so many notes, and we have so many questions, but thank you so much for providing such a powerful conversation around Muslim Women's Guide to